everybody. It's Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun and host of Vancouver Island Time. I'm here with Kerry Brown. Kerry Brown is a former realtor. She is an executive coach. She is with the McKay, how do you say it? McKay CEO Forum?
Forums, yeah. I'm a certified chair with them, and also obviously have my own business as well as a coach.
Yeah, and so she was my business coach as well, and she was also the former executive managing director at eWomen Network here in Victoria, and I was very lucky to follow in her footsteps. So I reached out to her and asked her if she could help us figure out how to pivot in our business, because obviously things are changing quite quickly, and how do we react constructively so that we can build our business. So Kerry sent along a few points, 5 mistakes that people make when they're getting in, when they're operating in a stressful environment. And the first one you were talking about is your emotional state.
Yeah. Well, Jane, it's interesting because I've been a coach for 24 years, and so I've been through a few cycles. 2008, the most recent one prior to now. So there's some history there of seeing what worked and what didn't work, and all of that. And of course, today, since 2008 to now, I've been really working with a lot of my clients on asking themselves, if you don't disrupt your industry, it's going to be disrupted for you. Or if you don't disrupt your business, somebody's going to disrupt it for you. So you either had a choice. Well, I don't think anyone could have prepared that this pandemic would have come along, but it's a disruptor no different than Uber was to taxis, to Airbnb was to the hotel industry, Tesla to the car industry, and on and on. So I think people have to look at it in that perspective, that it's a disruptor that's come faster than anyone expected, but it's here. And the people who've been thinking about disruption and preparing for disruption, I think, are better prepared. So what I did is I looked back on what some of the things I was seeing from 2008, and then also what people are telling me today, because I've been in conversation with hundreds of business owners over the last couple of weeks, talking some of them off the ledge. And what I noticed is that, and I was reminded that whenever you're looking to pivot, innovate, whatever you want to call it, the last thing you want to do it in a negative emotional state.
Right, because you're gonna operate out of emotion rather than logic.
Absolutely, and every decision you make is based on emotion, but there's a difference between a negative or a positive emotional state. Logic usually backs up our information. So for an example, if you think of being, you draw a line and you've got emotions below the line and emotions above the line. Mm-hmm. Well, below the line is where we're operating in fear, we're catastrophizing, where we think scarcity. We then look opportunistically. So that's different than looking for opportunities, but opportunistically. So we're grabbing at things. Never, ever, 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 ever make a decision when you're in a negative emotional state. So what the goal is to get yourself into a positive emotional state. And during times like now, you'll watch the news or something will happen and you'll get a client cancel or something and you'll go down and you go up. The goal is to be in a positive emotional state 80% of the time and only make decisions when you're above the line. And that's where where you're creative, that's where you're positive, that's where you know that you can be in control of some things, even little things. It sets you in a much more creative space and a creative mind.
So first of all, just want to say your necklace is hitting your mic.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, that's not very good. Okay, thank you. Then we'll just do this and we'll just
perfect.
Toss it back there. Great.
Way to pivot. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next thing you were talking about is pivoting. Mm-hmm. So tell me, prioritizing.
Right.
So we're talking about, when people are scrambling and disorganized and they're, not focused. I'm seeing that people just kind of doing things left, right, and center. what's a way of prioritizing? What's a handy way of prioritizing?
Well, if you've got yourself in that emotional positive state and you've really doubled down on your grit and your mental toughness and you're hanging out around positive people and you're limiting the amount of news, then the next piece is to prioritize and not be scrambling. And here's the piece is when we are scrambling and disorganized, it's as if our mind actually, we can't focus on anything. And we've all been there, where we can't find something and we're racing because it's late. And the next thing we know, we're looking everywhere and it's in front of us. So it's really important that you have to, slow yourself down, get yourself organized, get back to those routines, treat it as if it's a standard work day. And know that today you might have been, planning cycles depending upon what kind of business you are in, 90-day chunks. Now you're planning for 30 days and you're making sometimes hourly decisions. So, slowing down, getting yourself organized, putting those routines in place, those daily routines will help you, be able to look and say, okay, is this what I need to be working on right now? And asking yourself, is this, is what I'm working on right now the piece that has the greatest opportunity for me now? And
What
that'll help you keep that focus.
what I find is the best thing is to just make appointments with people. Then you're accountable to somebody other than yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Rather than being on your own, absolutely. And making sure that those are positive people or people that you have to show up your best.
Right.
Leaning into being the best you can be in that situation, because that forces you to get out of that spot because you're trying to serve, or whether it's a customer or a client, whatever that happens to be, it can kind of pull you out of that state. Yeah, you
Okay.
bet.
So is now the time, this sort of brings us to the next point, and that is to get advice.
Mm-hmm.
Is now the time to get a coach, or is now the time to I know that there are accountability groups sort of popping up all over the place. What do you think is the difference between an accountability group and having a coach?
Well, there's a big distinction in that an accountability group is where you make a commitment to somebody and hopefully they will hold you accountable. And depending upon the structure in it, people will and won't. If they're friends, often they won't. People won't step out of their comfort zone and say, hey, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. But what's also different, and this is not the time, this is when people need to really be doubling down on getting the right advice from the right people. This is why, peer groups of people who are giving shared experience, not advice, untested advice can be really expensive. And, often what we're doing is we're going to our friends and family and we're running ideas by them. Well, they've got no credentials or no credibility unless they've been a successful business person in the past. So I want to say that caveat. But most often what's happening is people are scrambling and they're seeking information from all over the place, not the right thing to do. So, go to the people who have that, who are able to give you that sound advice, who are experts. I know everyone right now is saying, gee, I need to cut my expenses. The problem is that, going out and trying to figure out your business on your own can be incredibly expensive. And so getting really good advice from the right sources can be worth everything. In fact, if I look back at 2008, in the down economy, and those people that invested in their organizational health, invested in their leadership, invested in their own development as a leader and making sound decisions, they fared far greater when the economy came back and survived and existed than those who didn't.
Yeah, I think of it as kind of having a bow and arrow, that if you take the arrow and you pull it back and you take the step back and you really anchor your feet, that when you let the arrow go, it's going to go way further than if you just, pull it back quickly and it falls 5 feet from.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, winging it, or
Yeah.
doing something by the seat of your pants versus sound business decision and business acumen. And I really think that it's even, if the people that are listening on this particular call have a leadership team that's a healthy leadership team, and not meaning non-COVID, but healthy meaning they've got a good team environment, that they're able to be vulnerable with each other, but also to be able to rumble, to be able to support each other. I mean, the pieces about in-person teams are just as important and even more important if you're working remotely. So, if you're a leader and you're making a decision on trying to pivot or innovate in your business right now to deal with what's coming, and you have a sound team, at every decision you're making, have them challenge you on it. You still have to make that decision, but make sure that you're making that decision in that sound emotional state.
Yeah, and I find right now, actually, that kind of brings us to the next point, which is overcoming fear
Mm-hmm.
and doing the research, and just like making yourself aware of what the options are out there, so that when really listening to your clients, so that when they tell you what they need, like right now, I'm finding I actually have not had a chance to talk to all my clients, because I've been seeing A, whether or not we're essential, B, how we're going to operate, like what's going to be the standard operating procedures within our whole industry of real estate,
Right.
but also like just figuring out, what the next step is going forward. So I have a list. It's called COVID plus one. I'm just going to COVID plus one, and that's
Yep.
what's going to happen the day after COVID. So now,
Yeah.
and there's stuff. I've been coming up with a marketing strategy of what I'm going to be doing now, and how we're going to implement the virtual buyer and the virtual seller. But I imagine for a lot of people, they're just paralyzed right now, right? But the best thing they can do is talk to their client. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. So that paralysis is in that negative emotional state. So that's why I put it as the number one for sure. And then calling their clients, and start with a place. So whether it's, whether you're an organization that has 100 employees, whoever it is, like reaching out to your key people, your clients and customers are, whether you're a realtor, like whatever industry you're in, you want to be talking to the people that you're dealing with. And the first obviously conversation is, how you doing? Like, are you guys healthy? Are you doing, and really listening to serve. And when you do that, your customers and clients will tell you what they need. They'll tell you what services. Especially if you're in the coaching and consulting world, or, provide any of those kinds of services, your customers and clients will tell you what they need. And there's your innovation. There's how you pivot. That's what you do. You shift and make those adjustments based on what their needs are. But it's really important to be having those conversations versus hiding out of fear. And, honestly, we often procrastinate because of fear, or we don't know what the next step is. So I say, this is when you got to put on that shield. Whatever people might say, whatever they're going through, you're just there to listen and be a support for them, and whatever that happens to be. And they'll give you those ideas. They'll tell you, like, lean into them.
Yeah, I'm finding right now, well, what I've asked my client, I've been sending out videos to my clients of market updates and what's going on. And I think in my next one, I'm just going to ask them to just respond. Because a lot of the time, it feels one way, and I don't know, A, if they're okay, and, B, if what I'm saying is actually meeting their needs. So I have to ask them, like, I'm reaching out to you, I'd like to know, are you even getting this message, and are you okay, sort of thing. What are your concerns right now, so I can address them, right?
Yeah. And again, starting from that place of service versus because most of us are in situations where what we offer is a solution to a problem. Start just with listening. Just listening to what they have to say. And you may see some ideas after you've had many conversations. Right now people are being, inundated with so much information, and depending upon, where they are in that anxiety sort of, cycle, they may be willing to listen, and they may not be, but just the fact that you're reaching out to them, keeping in touch. I've had so many people say to me, because I've been really proactive, is saying, hey, thanks so much. I've been sending them some resources. I've been, shooting them off stuff and say, hey, if this is helpful for you, that's great. Hey, let's just, and if they're saying, given the work that I do, oh, I'm okay. I'm saying, let's have a 15-minute call because I know they're not.
Yeah. And
No,
so
nobody's really okay right now, right?
I'm finding there are more posts now about saying it's okay to say you're not okay. And I guess the other part that comes from that is ask for help if you want, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If you need it. It's okay to ask for help.
Well, this is when we don't ask for help, that's when we're below the line. That's when our ego's there. That's where I got it all handled. This is where I'm okay. I can figure this out on my own. That's where that lives. And in today's world right now, there's no place for that. It really is about putting that all aside because, quite frankly, nobody knows the answers right now. And so everybody's looking for solutions in, all different places. And so this is when I think that the ability to actually say, I don't know the answers to this, shows that vulnerability based trust. That's the first part of building relationships that are
Hmm.
there is, I don't have the answers. I'll get it for you versus, oh, we got it handled.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
hate to use this word, being authentic. Everybody overuses that word.
yeah, yeah. And then they do use vulnerability too, but it's not about, people feeling that they have to cry or anything like that, but just saying, this is a scary time. I don't know. I mean, as business leaders, I'm coaching all the time that it's okay to say to your team, I don't know the answers, but this is where we're going.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm making decisions daily here. I'm and demonstrate to them that you are that you have the skills because I will tell you every single person right now has eyes on everybody.
Yeah. I'm finding, it's really separating the wheat from the chaff right now.
Oh, well, there will be. I mean, people keep saying, I hope this goes back to normal. There,
This is a new more normal.
yeah, this will fundamentally change the way we do business, the way we build relationships, all of that. It just, and we can't even fathom what that's going to be, but as time goes on, we'll start seeing these shifts. One of the positives from this is that, and I'm always a, glass half full kind of person anyway, which is this is forcing businesses to innovate when they got complacent. This is forcing them to get out of their comfort zone. And this is really, this is where that grit, that hardiness, we really have to dig deep and develop it. And I think that this will be an opportunity for a lot of people that hadn't will now do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Okay, so I have time and decision making up here as our next point.
Yep.
Um, you know, I'm finding as I was saying before, that people are sometimes being erratic and they're going in multiple directions at once. And to me, that's kind of like when a loud noise happens and people look around quickly. Whoop,
Yep.
sorry, that's my phone ringing. But how do they know that they've made the right decision?
Well, first of all, when that first point I made about being above or below the line, that's the first piece is to always be checking in. So developing that awareness. Where am I right now?
Hmm.
And looking for those clues. So that, this is when you have to start developing these chops if you don't have them, so to speak, of really being able to say, okay, where am I right now? Am I making a decision above the line or below the line? And they can even be, responding to an email, having a telephone conversation. We're not talking necessarily about, pivoting an idea in your business. It can be as small pieces as that. So that's the first piece. And if you say, okay, yeah, I think I'm above the line on this, then that's where you seek help from sound advisors to actually give you some advice for you to be able to do the research, to be able to, make a decision. But you need to make decisions fast these days. You can't take 3 months to make a decision. I mean, today the businesses that are going to survive this are making decisions literally, as I said, on an hourly basis. So you've got to be able to, clear your mind, clear some time. That's why time mastery is so important, because you have to be able to be organized so that you can actually set aside some time to think creatively, which doesn't happen when you're scrambling.
Right. Well, I want to say thank you. I don't want to take too much of people's time. I've just been flashing up some comments here that people have written. Coaching is definitely one of the best investments. That's from Lori Frank. I'm sure you know her.
Yep.
Another realtor saying you've been making some great points, and it's a time when our genuine selves will separate the fakers from the makers. That's so true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm finding it's true. And I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of people, unfortunately, who fall by the wayside if they're not flexible and adapt to our environment. And they've just got to realize that it is going to change the way things happen. I'm going to use a simple example. I opened up a bottle of orange juice today, and you know how they had the cap, and then underneath they had the safety seal.
Right.
Well, we haven't always had the safety seal, and that's an adaptation because something happened, a disruptor happened, and things changed, and it changed permanently. I think that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So we got to accept a new change. Anybody want to make some final comments on our chat here?
Well, Jane, I would just encourage everybody to think like they're a startup.
Okay.
Take your business and think like it's a startup all over again, being willing to fail, but fail fast.
Okay. And how do people get in touch with you if they want to get some professional coaching?
Well, my email address is kerry@successbizcoach.com. Jane, I sent you a document. Could people download that document that I sent you that's got my email address on it?
I can attach it to the live video. Yep.
Yeah, perfect. I'm also on Facebook. I have a business page, so they can reach me there. So I'm pretty easy to find. And I would just encourage, I wouldn't be a good coach if I didn't send out a challenge to everybody, is to, take these 5 points, think of them, and then think, what's one thing right now that I can take action on today that will, have me thinking about how to pivot, how to innovate, what can I do differently in my business, and get in action versus inaction, and the right kind of action.
Awesome. Somebody's writing here, I'm really taking this time to address the things that I was not enjoying my business and making those adjustments. Great talk, ladies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the time when, and if you are a business right now that has time, then this is when you learn some new skills. This is when you develop. If you're a person who's unfortunately out of a job and looking for a new career, this is a time to upgrade skills. This is time to look at what's happening, look at new innovations that are down the road. If you've got a business that's scrambling right now, well, this is when all the peripheral stuff gets put to the side and you are focusing on, how to deal with this new environment. So it's a great opportunity to reinvent, pivot, innovate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, do the same thing in a new way.
Yeah, or do something even different in a new way. Yeah. I mean, I know everyone's focused on, preserving their core business, and people have been doing business continuity planning over the last 3 weeks. But also what we need to be looking at is what do we need to be doing? Maybe there's a whole new stream of business or a new offering or something that's there that we haven't even been looking at. And right now we need to be looking at that as our core businesses shrink.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate you. And I appreciate your flexibility. I addressed this last minute with you and you rose to the challenge. You did an amazing job. And thank you for pulling it together. So maybe we might call on you in a few weeks and we can connect again.
You bet. Yeah, I love that. Okay, thanks, Jane.
Okay, take care.
Yeah, bye-bye.